Senator. That seems to be the middle ground, the way we're going. Am I misinterpreting that?
No, you might. I think you're right, Neil. I don't think we're going to stay at the 600. Even if the president did it, he'll do it for a week or a month or two. The House has passed its bill. If you think it's over generous or too much, and we're trying to create or trying to cure all of our social ills in one piece of legislation, then the Senate has to sit down and negotiate. For the last 2 months, we really haven't done any negotiation anticipating this day would come. That's the problem.
All right, well, that's a problem right now because they still haven't got a deal. But he did seem to intimate at the outset that there is going to be something on the unemployment benefit front, whether it's going to be the $600 a week that the federal government has provided on top of individual state unemployment packages is anyone's guess. It'll probably go down, but it won't just go away. Let's get the read right now from Edward Stringham, the American Institute for Economic Research president. We got Jessica Tarlov with us, a Democratic strategist, Fox News contributor, and last but not least, Connell McShane. Now, Connell, I understand, and you're the big cheese with the After the Bell show and everything else. Everything was going hunky-dory, but your power went out. And you were unable to make it to air. So it's interesting how I orchestrated that, isn't it?
We've narrowed down this list of suspects. So this was yesterday at 3:57 p.m. And
yes.
I'm working out of this beautiful home studio. And all of a sudden, the power's on all day with a tropical storm coming up the coast. 2 to 3 minutes before air, blackout. And you say, well, who's on another network at the same exact time and might stand to benefit, on a relative basis at least, from the power going out? So we're looking into it. Investigators don't want to leap to any conclusions, but so far, everything looks pretty good today, Neil.
All right, we can pull the plug on him now, guys. All right, Jessica, we get back to this subject. It's quite a serious subject. I'm not minimizing it. But this battle back and forth over, I think it's come down to those unemployment benefits. So I think, and I'm taking the lead here, no one else is, they're going to stay around. Now, I don't know they're going to be at $600 a week. That's doubtful, but they will stick around. And I'm wondering if that is an acknowledgement on the part of Republicans that will push this, that well, you know, we do have these states sort of reshuttering, if you will, and that is the reality. And, and that a lot of these people that hope to go back to work are now in a pickle that they can't. So what do you make of that?
Oh, I think
it's definitely a little bit of Republican.
Jessica first. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'll go super fast. Actually, that's not true. I never go super fast, but I'm going to try. I think that it is indicative of Republicans making a concession that they were wrong to make the argument that we didn't need these benefits in the first place. And those who have been out there saying that this is pushing people into a position where they're trying to stay on unemployment benefits versus get back to work. We know the American public wants to get back to work if they have safe conditions to do so. I think it could probably go down to around $400 from the $600, not the $200 that was proposed. But as we're facing a potential for a second wave or what might be a third wave in some states when the flu season actually comes around, they need to make sure that everyone has these unemployment benefits. And I'd encourage our audience at home to watch Sherrod Brown, who was talking about this yesterday on the floor of the Senate, strongly making the case for why these benefits are the least that we can do, considering what Americans are up against.
All right, now I do know the Republican argument, and it does make sense on paper. You know, obviously, with I think 67% of those receiving these benefits collectively between their own state aid and the federal aid are making more, in some cases a lot more than they did, you know, when they were working. So Republicans are concerned about putting a limit on that. How do you strike that balance? Edward.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I think it's a major problem. They're paying people more in many cases money to not work than they were getting paid beforehand. And part of the goal of the CARES Act was to give some loans, forgivable loans to businesses to get people off of the unemployment insurance, get people back on payroll. But the conditions of that are not being met because part of it is that the companies can't actually get the workers to come back to work. Ultimately, these unemployment benefits are going to be paid for by taxpayers, paid for by workers, paid for by corporations. So it's not like it's free money, and it's coming from the average person, the average business person, and causing people to not get off the unemployment roll and back into the economy. I think is a major, major problem. Adding unemployment benefits well beyond what they normally do just does not make any sense at all to me.
All right, these are special times and special conditions. I get that. But, Colin McShane, one of the things that's come up with this whole back and forth on this is this idea that maybe what we're looking at here is stubbornly high unemployment. We always hear the talk about 1 out of 4 restaurants that will never reopen, 25,000 retail establishments that have closed. So now there's this growing fear that the improvement we've seen, and we have seen improvement since things started opening up, might stymie a little bit here. Maybe we'll get evidence of that in the Friday employment data for July. But what are you hearing?
We might have seen some of it in the private sector employment report this morning, although, there were jobs added to the previous month, so it's kind of hard to get a real read on that. But I think we are starting, Neil, to see some of that if you just look at the timing. For example, Cordell put out a study saying that we're already seeing kind of a second wave of layoffs, so that they found more than 30% of the workers who were brought back after being laid off were then laid off again for a second time. And, unfortunately, it kind of makes sense for what people were predicting would happen by the first week in August, where we are now. A lot of people said if you took out a PPP loan, that's about the time you would have worked through it, right? And then you need more. So is it an extension there? Is it an extension of the enhanced unemployment benefits? That remains to be seen in what they work out in Congress. But we do know that timing-wise, a lot of these businesses probably figure they could buy themselves enough time to get to about now. Now they're here, and they have tough decisions to make again.
Guys, if I could switch gears a little bit, we're learning, and Jessica, I'll bounce this over to you, that Joe Biden is not going to Milwaukee to give his speech. I don't know where he'll give it, presumably in Wilmington, Delaware. We do know that the president will skip out on making his big speech in either North Carolina or Florida. It's just not happening. He'll probably do it from the White House. But it is yet another reminder of the shrinking of these conventions this year. What do you make of that and the impact? Who it hurts more?
I think that it would actually hurt Biden more than it would hurt President Trump, who does have a larger bully pulpit available to him at any time. He can go and have a press conference, and all the news networks are going to carry it. We'll see where he gives his speech from. I'm not sure if there's some regulation about whether he can do it on White House grounds, and that would be a violation of the Hatch Act. But I think that Joe Biden needs to do his darndest to ensure that he remains visible through all of this.
No, Jess, I just want to be curious. I'm not right or left on this.
Oh, I just don't know.
That's where he lives. He's the president of the United States.
No, and yes, and he shall live there until next January. I just don't know, because it would be a campaign event. You're not allowed to campaign on White House grounds, as far as I know. So, but he could give it. I have no objection to him doing whatever is legal. That is obviously his right. And just saying that Joe Biden needs to do more work to make sure that he remains visible in all of this, and also that he makes a strong case for why he picked the VP that he is going to pick. And usually we see them at the convention together, holding hands up in the air, saying, this is your ticket, look to us to take you into November. And he's not going to be able to do that. And as of now, we've seen very little of him with potential picks like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Val Demings, Karen Bass. So I think he needs to make sure that the public is well aware that he has a good relationship with whoever he's running with, and the thinking behind him making that selection in the first place.
He's playing it safe, Edward. I get that if he has a big lead in the polls, but his lead is very similar to the lead that Hillary Clinton enjoyed 4 years ago over Donald Trump, and we know how that turned out. And this Where's Waldo strategy, where he comes out at his home, makes a brief speech. He's not exactly ripped apart by the media. Not that I endorse that, but if you're going to go after the president aggressively, you at least can go after the guy who wants to be president. But his argument, and the Biden folks' argument, is it's working for us. Are you worried that it continues to work for them?
Yeah, I mean, it has been. You look at the election betting odds. Trump's been plummeting the last few months. The economy was the one area that everybody looked to as being the greatest thing he's got going for him. That still remains his only area where he's polling better than Biden. So Biden can be hiding, doing the Where's Waldo thing. And the president's just not able to show the economic strengths that he was claiming before. So I think a lot of people need to get back to work. They want to get back to work. And at least from the president's perspective, that's, I would say, his only hope is to see the economy open again and see it humming again. Otherwise, Biden, I think, is just going to win by default.
We'll see. It's a little early, but we'll see. I want to thank all of you. I know we covered a lot of ground here, but want to keep you up on that. But again, just to indicate for those of you just joining us, both candidates, this is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it, opting not to make their major speeches at their respective convention sites. Where they ultimately make those speeches is anyone's guess, but it won't be at the convention site. So we've never seen that. You know, we came very close with Abraham Lincoln in 1860. I remember covering that one. I said, where's Abe? Where's Abe? He showed up, gave a speech, became president. You never know. A little more to this.